During World War II, warfare came in all shapes and forms. It was an especially dangerous role as a spy. If captured by the Gestapo, they could expect not mercy. They were invariably tortured before facing execution or sent to concentration camps. German spies were usually hanged, if not turned into double agents. In today's story, let's look at two of these spies. Hi, and welcome back to the Historical Crimes and Criminals podcast. I'm Steve, your host. When World War II came, the populations of many countries rose to fight the threat of the Axis forces, and the war was fought in many theatres, from the brutal Atlantic convoys to the deserts of North Africa to the jungle of the country that I'm currently in, the Philippines. And many actors would serve their countries, from Alex Guinness to Clark Gable, from Paul Newman to Kirk Douglas. Their stories were many and varied, like David Niven, who was a commando despite explicit orders from Hitler that any commandos captured were to be executed. The beautiful young Audrey Hepburn spent the war years in occupied Holland, during which her uncle was executed for sabotage and her half-brother sent to a German labour camp. She helped the Dutch resistance by giving secret dance performances in order to raise money, as well as delivering messages and packages. If she had been caught, it would have been a concentration camp for Hepburn at best. But she wasn't the only Hollywood star who was a spy. Sterling Hayden was born in the USA in 1916. He's best known for playing Captain McCluskey in The Godfather and being shot by Al Pacino's Michael Corleone. The role I love him best, though, was in Stanley Kubrick's 1956 crime noir, The Killing, about a heist at a racetrack. I won't spoil the plot, as I would advise anybody who has never seen it to seek it out. And you really see where Tarantino was influenced for some of his filming techniques and style. Hayden's real passion was sailing, and he missed out on the role of a lifetime when he turned down the role of Quint, the boat captain who gets eaten by the shark in Jaws. And that shark is, incidentally, called Bruce, its name given by the cast and the crew. But back to our story. When the USA entered World War II in 1941, he enlisted in the army and was sent to Scotland for training, but he broke his ankle and was discharged. He returned to the USA and tried to buy a half interest in a schooner, but couldn't raise the money. He joined the United States Marine Corps as a private under the name John Hamilton, an alias he had never used otherwise. While at Parris Island, he was recommended for officer candidate school. After graduation, he was commissioned a second lieutenant and was transferred to service as an undercover agent with William J. Wild Bill Donovan's office of the Coordinator of Information. He remained there after it became the Office of Strategic Services, or the OSS. As a lifetime fan of sailing, as OSS agent John Hamilton, his World War II service included sailing with supplies from Italy to Yugoslav partisans and parachuting into fascist Croatia. Hayden also participated in the Naples Foggia campaign and established aircrew rescue teams in enemy-occupied territory, and he became a first lieutenant on September the 13th, 1944, and ended the war as a captain. He received the Silver Star for gallantry in action in the Balkans and the Mediterranean, and according to his citation, Lieutenant Hamilton displayed great courage in making hazardous sea journeys in enemy-infested waters and reconnaissance throughout enemy-held areas. A bronze arrowhead device for parachuting between enemy lines, and he also got a commendation from Yugoslavia's Joseph Tito. He left active duty on December the 24th, 1945, and returned to Hollywood. Hayden was married 3 times, and he died in 1986 of prostate cancer, aged 70. But if Hayden was a hero, here's the juxtaposition. Not all people were interested in stopping the Nazi threat. They were out for themselves. And king and country made no difference. The war threw up all sorts of bizarre and strange stories, including the following career criminal. Harold Cole was born in Hoxton, East London in 1906. Incidentally, this is an area I know well, having lived there for 10 years, and a nice trendy area it is too, but not back then. It was pretty much slums. Although Cole's tale is little known, he's been referred to as Britain's biggest traitor of World War II. By the time he was a teenager, he was a petty criminal, committing burglary, embezzlement, and cheque fraud. He had served several sentences in British jails before the start of World War II. In September 1939, after recently being released early from prison, he lied about his criminal past to enlist in the British Army. He was assigned to the 18th Field Park Company, part of the Royal Engineers. It was sent to France in late 1939 as part of the British Expeditionary Force, and Cole was promoted to sergeant. However, old habits are hard to break, and in May 1940, he was arrested for stealing money from his own sergeant's mess and placed in a guardhouse. Cole then became a prisoner of war after being left behind when his unit pulled out during the fall of France. In a theme that would reoccur, the cunning Cole, however, escaped, using his stolen black Peugeot 202. He moved to Lille, where he dabbled in the black market. It was here he reinvented himself as an English gentleman and former Scotland Yard detective who is now a captain in British intelligence in occupied France. He moved to Marseille, where he helped the French resistance establish escape route networks with safe houses, couriers, and document forgers. During this period, he referred to himself as Captain Paul Cole, but also used a variety of aliases, including Mason, Rook, Corsair, De La Belle, Anderson, Durham, and Godfrey. Cole fashioned himself as a suave upper-class Englishman dressed in +4s with plastered down hair and a finely clipped moustache. His espionage was also given the wholehearted support of Special Operations Executive in London. However, in 1941, Cole was confronted by Albert Gires, a Belgian resistance leader who ran the Pat O'Leary line. This was the line that helped Allied servicemen reach neutral Spain and British-controlled Gibraltar. Gires suspected Cole of embezzling money, and even though SOE still vouched for his integrity, Gires had agents watch Cole to gather evidence that he'd been stealing that money intended to finance the escape lines to fund a high society lifestyle of nightclubs and expensive restaurants. Cole was eventually arrested and locked in a room while the resistance group decided his fate. Whilst they deliberated and concluded, Cole did what Cole did. He forced open a window and escaped whilst the resistance were still deliberating whether they should execute him. And now, finding himself on the run from the resistance, Cole decided to hand himself in to the Geheim Feldpolizei, an executive branch of German military intelligence. He gave the Nazi security agency 30 pages of names and addresses of resistance members and he became an agent for the Germans, helping to find and capture French resistance members and destroy the escape lines he'd helped run in occupied France. He was based in Paris, and he denounced many important figures in the resistance movement, including a man called Ian Garrow and Grès. It's estimated that Cole betrayed at least 150 members of the French resistance, of whom 50 were executed by the Gestapo. Although employed by the Germans, Cole quickly reverted to his old ways. He married a French girl, but abandoned her when their baby died. Cole also had several mistresses. He stole one girlfriend's life savings after convincing her he would pay her back with money that he had back in Britain. In 1944, Cole fled Paris before the Allies liberated the city. With the war over, in June 1945, the cunning Cole reinvented himself again at Bad Salgo in southern Germany by claiming to be a Captain Mason who was on a secret mission to root out high-ranking Nazis who had fled the Alpine fortress in Bavaria. But Cole was caught after his own self-confidence got the better of him. He sent a postcard to an ex-girlfriend in Paris, telling her of his new life. She, however, contacted the authorities, and Cole was arrested by MI9. However, despite being imprisoned at the Chef military prison in Paris, he escaped from custody by dressing as American serviceman, and on the 18th of November 1945, he just walked straight out the main gate. But our story comes to an end, and karma finally caught up with Cole, as on the 8th of January 1946, after receiving a tip-off, French police found out he was hiding on the 4th floor above a bar on the Rue de Grenelle near the Eiffel Tower. Cole was shot and killed while trying to escape. He was buried in an unmarked pauper's grave in Paris. Well, that's it for another episode. I hope you enjoyed that one, and till next time, bye bye.